Just a lovely night with Lady Luna. Our moon is currently at 21.1%. It is a waxing crescent, which means that it's getting larger. And moon distance is currently 250,395 miles away. The large circular sea that's kind of an oval shape that is off to the left-hand side of your screen, a little bit lower than halfway, that is the Sea of Crisis. Beautiful clear night tonight here in Columbus, Ohio. Hello, hello. How you doing, Rewinds? Moon tonight is at 21.1% waxing illumination, which means it's getting bigger. I hope you're doing well tonight. It's a nice, crisp little, beautiful evening here in Columbus, Ohio. We're just checking out our lovely moon. That large circular area that's just below and the center line and just off to the left-hand side, that is the Sea of Crisis. And just above it, that is the Sea of Fertility. And there's just a tiny little bit of the Sea of Tranquility showing, not much yet. Zoom in a little bit. That's the Sea of Crisis, just almost in the very center of your screen. Isn't that beautiful? So much detail. Absolutely gorgeous tonight. Now, mind you, your view of the moon tonight is actually flipped upside down and backwards. That is due to the type of telescope that I have. I have a Dobsonian. And so the mirrors on the inside of my telescope, there are two of them. So they actually flip and reverse our view of the moon. So this is actually the southern portion of the moon, and this is the southern highlands. The highlands of the moon actually reflect more light than the seas or the maras of the moon. This large crater that I've kind of placed into the center of the screen, it's just off to the left-hand side of the Sea of Fertility. That is Langrenus crater. The sun. No, this is the moon, you silly goose. This is the moon. You know, Lady Luna. And this is the north side of the moon, which is flipped upside down, so it's at the very bottom of your screen. And again, this view is flipped upside down due to the telescope that I have. Those two deep craters that are close to the terminator line. The terminator line is the line of demarcation between the shaded side or the night side of the moon and the lit or the day side of the moon. So the day side of the moon is off to the left, and the night side is, you can actually just see just a little bit of the hills and everything else as it fades off into the darkness. Now later on tonight, once the sun completely sets, we'll actually be able to see what is called earth shine. And that is where light from the earth actually reflects on the night side of the moon and gives you kind of a shaded area of the rest of the moon that's in darker relief. Let's see if we can get some of that to show up. Not quite, kind of, but not quite. So those two craters that are kind of close together, one's a little bit larger than the other one, and I've placed them into the center of your screen. It's coming up just a little bit further up from the center. The one to the left is Atlas, and the one to the right is Hercules crater. Hello, Conservative Sue. I'm hoping you're well this evening. We are enjoying a beautiful view of our lovely moon. I'm using a Dobsonian 10 telescope, and you are viewing the moon through a 17.3 Delos lens. And again, your view of the moon is flipped upside down and backwards in comparison to what you would actually see in the night sky. And that is due to the type of telescope that I have. I'm using a Dobsonian 10 telescope with a 17.3 lens. And due to the fact that I have two different mirrors inside of my telescope, means that you're actually seeing the view of the moon upside down and backwards. I hear a Corvette. Hold on a second, gang. I don't know if he can squeeze in here or not. Can you get in? No? Hold on, gang. I'm gonna spin you on a trip. Okay, sorry about that.
you.
Just a honey bunny coming back in. Here we go.
Am I good?
Yes, you're good.
Gracias, señorita.
Actually, you're off on the front. My bad.
That's okay.
But you're good. Hold on a second, gang. Oh. Yeah, that's way off for some reason. I don't know why.
Which way am I going?
Back out all the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one is off.
I don't know why they're off. I haven't moved them.
The right front was off.
Okay, try again. Switch. Now you're good.
I'm good?
Yep. Sorry about that, gang. Okay, let's try this again. This time without the oops.
A little forward, but that's it.
Okay, sorry about that. It's not as clear as I would like it tonight, but it's still doable.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
For some reason, I've got a little bit of clarity issues with the, I don't know if it's just the temperature difference or what's going on, but there's,
That could be a heat gradient, yeah.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
and of course, the oven that you just pulled in the garage didn't help.
Sorry. You'll have that.
So yeah, we're live on YouTube, so if you're wondering what in the world I'm doing out here talking to myself. You're so welcome. Thank you, Sue. So what you're looking at off to your lower left-hand side, just above the comment section, do you guys see that large oval? Kind of has like two small craters that are off to the right-hand side inside of it. That is the Sea of Crisis. The Sea of Crisis. Just above it, that is the Sea of Fertility. And then here we have, I'm going to back this off just a little bit. Hopefully we can get a little bit more clarity for a minute. That's a little bit better. Come on, work with me. There we go. That's pretty. Kisses. Mwah.
Love you. Thank
Love
you
you.
for helping with the parking.
You're welcome. Mwah. So,
Just hung with Sean.
just hung with Sean?
Yeah.
Is he doing good?
He's a happy camper. Or as happy as Sean can be.
Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I know.
I don't know why, but I don't like how bright this is. I wish that I had put on a moon filter, but do you guys mind if I switch out to a moon filter to take the brightness down just a little bit? Am I naming the craters? No, these are names of the craters that are recognized by the Astronomical Society. And so most of these are named for prior astronomers and mathematicians and things of that nature. And just about every crater that I've seen on the moon has a designated name. Thanks for coming in, Tony B. Got to get your eyes ready for Saturn. I understand that. It won't be up here until probably about 1 or 2 o'clock before I start getting really good, clear views of Saturn. All right. I love you, babe. Yep.
Love you.
That's the honey bunny. Let me get a moon filter real quick. This should help out just a little bit. Oh, we do have some moonshine showing now. Do you guys see that? Let's take that down. Stop that. There we go. Okay, so now you can actually see the whole entire circle of the moon. And the reason why that is that light is being reflected off of Earth and it's hitting the moon and then bouncing back and coming back to our eyes. You won't see that when there is more than a half of a half lit moon. So that is only visible when you are viewing the moon when it is at a crescent stage. Now I'm going to switch this out real quick. Add a little moon filter. There we go. So our moon is currently at 21.1% tonight. And it is currently 250,409 miles away. I'm just hanging out with Lady Luna tonight. Grab some coffee. Our moon is a little more than 1/4 the size of our Earth. That means that just more than 3 moons will go into the same space that our Earth occupies. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun. And when looking at the moon from the Earth, it's about the same size as the sun. And that is because the moon is much closer to the Earth than the sun. The side of the moon that's closest to Earth is called the near side, or the front side of the moon, and the side that is away from us is known as the far side of the moon. A lot of people used to think that was the dark side of the moon, but we now know that the whole entire moon is actually lit up at some point. It's just the change of how light hits the moon and where our position is. The moon is roughly 1.3 light seconds away from the Earth. So that means that it takes 1.3 seconds for light to bounce back from the moon and back towards Earth and reach our eyes. Now, our moon is tidally locked to Earth, which means that it spins at the same rate that it takes for it to go around us. So we only see one side. But if you were actually viewing it from a third point of view, say if you were viewing the moon through a telescope on the planet Mars, then you would actually see all sides of the moon. And you can kind of demonstrate this if you hold your hand out in front of you, and if you spin in a circle, you're always looking at the inside of your hand, but if somebody is standing away from you, then they're actually getting the view of all sides of your hand. And just about every moon that is in our solar system is tidally locked to its planet. So say, for example, if we were talking about Titan, one of the largest moon of Saturn, it is tidally locked to Saturn. According to observations, the moon is moving away from the Earth at about almost 4 centimeters per year. And if the moon moves too far away from the Earth, it will slow down and become unstable. But that's going to take a couple of billion years. There are many mountains, as many as 31, and mountain ranges on the moon. And there are also an estimated 18 mountain ranges on the moon's surface. The tallest, Mount Huygens, is more than 18,000 feet high. The moon's surface is covered with mostly rounded, but also other odd-shaped holes. These are known as impact craters and are formed when objects from space, such as meteorites and asteroids, collide with the moon's surface. Now, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took their helmets off when they were getting back into the LEM, they noticed an odd scent, and it was the smell of spent gunpowder. And that is what moon dust smells like. It smells like spent gunpowder. Getting a little bit darker now. Almost completely black skies. With that moon filter on, it does appear black, but my skies are almost completely dark. Do I think we need to go to Mars? I think it would be interesting to go to Mars. I think that what we are doing in the means of rovers and things of that nature actually can do quite a bit of the study that is actually being done on Mars. I don't see really the reason for humans going to Mars. I think most of the exploration that we could do is, I think money would be better off spent if we were actually doing more scientific research instead of human exploration, especially for that long of a trip. My concern is that if they went and if there was, I guess you could say, a burp from the sun where it was releasing high energy particles and things of that nature, that's quite a bit more radiation than I think I would want somebody that's actually going to Mars to be subjected to. This is just an educational channel. I kind of specialize on the moon. I've got over 211 different craters memorized on the moon. And so I do that. And I also provide videos of the different planets and stars and things of that nature. So pretty much just a free educational channel. And that's really beautiful. Now, this large C that you are looking at in the center of your screen right now, that is the Sea of Crisis. That is about 353 kilometers in diameter. Thank you, Ron. Glad to have you here. Now, just above, do you think we need to go to Mars? That is Langrenus crater. And then there's a funky one that is just a little bit darker that's above that. That is Vendelinus crater. And then there's another large one just above that that kind of has a little buttonhole in the center. That is Petavius crater. In the center and off to the right-hand side of the Sea of Crisis, there are two small craters there. They're coming in and out of focus a little bit. The one that is towards the bottom, that is Pierce crater, P-E-I-R-C-E. And the one above it is Picard, like Luke Picard from Star Trek. Picard is actually the name, I believe it was a mathematician from the 17th century. So it has nothing to do with actual Star Trek, but kind of funny that that he was given that name in both Star Trek and also this lovely crater on our moon. Now, another interesting fact that is about the Sea of Crisis, Blue Ghost lander actually landed on this in the Sea of Crisis, and that was right before the lunar eclipse. And while I was taking pictures of the lunar eclipse, it was taking pictures of the Earth during the lunar eclipse, and it actually caught the sun going behind Earth, and you could actually see the circle of our atmosphere. It was kind of like a silver ring around our planet. It's really beautiful. Let's see if we can get some earth shine here. Yeah, there we go. There's some earth shine. Buzz Aldrin noted that when they were flying over that area of it being in earthshine, that it had an ethereal blue haze to that side of the moon, and that is due to the waters on Earth, our oceans and everything else being really blue. It casts a blue hint to that side of the moon. So when they were flying over that area and getting ready to land in Apollo 11, he compared it to an ethereal blue glow to that side of the moon. You're never silly to ask. The only thing that's silly to ask is if you're being silly. If you ask me a good question, when was the last asteroid to hit the moon? I would like to look at the video. Thank you. I don't. Let's find out. Let's find out. It's a darn good question. I don't know that myself, but we can always find out. Now, mind you, there are constantly tiny rocks and dust and everything else that is always hitting the moon. But let's see. If we can get a date. The most recent lunar meteor impact reported was on February the 23rd, 2023, when a space rock created a crater described as being a dozen meters in diameter. Although impacts occur frequently on the moon, larger events such as the one in March 2013 that created a bright flash visible from Earth are less common, but they still happen. Now, you can find video of the meteor impact that was captured by telescopes in Japan, with the resulting crater being roughly a dozen meters in diameter, and that was February 23rd, 2023. So you can try and find that on the internet and see if you can find that. And that might actually be something good for me to pull up and show on a video later on. So, good idea. I like that. There are no silly questions. As long as you're being serious about it, there are no silly questions. I like questions. Questions keep me on my toes and keep me learning. I'm learning right along with you. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educator. I don't have a degree in any of this. I'm just an idiot with a telescope that reads a lot. Now, I got my telescope in I guess it was August of 2023. And the reason why I got my telescope was that when my father passed away in 2014, I thought to myself, what is something that he and I did when I was young or even when I was older that we both really enjoyed that might bring a little bit of him back into my life on a regular occurrence? And I thought, and I thought, and I thought. And I remembered that as a child, I spent a lot of time sitting in the backyard with my dad and him teaching me about the moon and the stars and the planets. And doing that brought back so much joy and just great memories of him. So I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to start looking into educating myself a little bit more about it. So I kept that up for a couple of years. And then in 2022, I happened upon Rebecca Smethurst. She is a PhD in she's an astrophysicist out of oh, I can't remember which city she's in, but she is out of the UK. And I fell in love with her channel, and she inspired me to actually get a telescope. So in 2023, I'd saved up enough money and I bought my first telescope, and it has been the joy of my life since. There's not a time that if I'm feeling well and if I'm having a good day, I am sick a lot. But if I'm having a good day or a good evening, and if I'm able to get out here, this is what I'm doing. This is my joy. This is what gives me peace in the afternoons and in the late evenings. Sometimes I'm out here at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I'm out here at 5:30 picking up videos of, like this morning, I was out here with Jupiter at 5:30 in the morning. Oh no, I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm just an idiot with a telescope. You're dealing with somebody that went to college for 2 semesters. So, yeah, I do not have an education in this field whatsoever. I have just read tons of books, and I do have a lunar globe, which gives me the names of all the craters and everything else. So what I'll do is I'll actually take pictures of the moon or take video, and then I'll go back in and I will look up all these different craters that I see in my videos, and I will map those out onto my globe and I'll mark those. And doing that for the past over 2 years has allowed me to be able to memorize quite a different few places on the moon. So I've got about 211 different things mapped in my head. So do I, conservative Zoo. The woman cannot talk like conservative Sue. I'm just going to call you Sue. So, but yeah, I mean, this is what gives me peace. I get so much comfort just sitting out here and just enjoying the views. And it makes me feel connected to everything around me. I think that society, in some small means, have kind of lost a little bit in the fact that we do live in these large cities and towns, and we have so much light and light pollution that we don't actually see the skies as what we did 100 or 200 years ago. And so I think that we've kind of lost a little bit of connection with our universe. Things that we used to look up at and talk about every single night are now something that people just kind of take for granted. Oh, the moon's out there. But yeah, everything that I try and take video of or pictures using my telescope, I try and keep it as realistic as to what you would actually see through a lens as you normally would. A lot of people will use stacking programs so that way they can get a lot of color and a lot of detail in nebulas, and those are beautiful. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sliding them in the least bit. But for me, I try to keep things as natural as possible, what someone would see with their naked eye viewing through a lens. Because I think a lot of people nowadays, they see all of these beautiful photos of nebula and stars and things of that nature, and then they look through a telescope and they're like, that don't look anything like what I've seen in pictures. And the reason why is because they're actually taking multiple pictures of the same area, and they're layering those one on top of the other. And when they're doing that, they're getting far more detail, and they're able to get crisp, clear views But at the same time, it's not the same thing as what you would normally see through an actual lens. Same, Sue. That was most of my childhood. I grew up in the sticks of East Tennessee, if you're wondering where my southern accent comes from. I grew up in East Tennessee, and we had Bortle 4 and Bortle 3 skies when I was growing up as a kid. And that's, that was pretty much our TV set back then. When we lived in Banbury when I was a kid, there you could kind of get a TV channel every once in a while if you stood in the corner and leaned the correct way with tinfoil on your head, touching the antenna. But there wasn't much TV. Everything was kind of fuzzy and it was snowy. So, if we wanted a good, clear view of anything, we stepped outside and that was our TV. That was us, spending time and talking. But yeah, a lot of my time growing up as a kid was just spent outside and listening to the crickets and the frogs and everything else and just enjoying the view. Let's see here. Am I going to have clear skies tomorrow? Let's find out real quick. Dang it, mosquitoes. Would you leave me alone? They think I'm lunch and dinner out here. Hey, hey, hey. I'm not a smorgasbord. Okay, so Thursday, I'm going to have quite a bit of clouds. But Saturday, I should have really clear views on Saturday and possibly on Sunday. Sunday looks really clear as well. So Saturday and Sunday, I should have more lives both of those nights. And hopefully, by then, I'll be able to show you guys where Apollo 11 landed, and that's in the Sea of Tranquility. It's not quite visible yet tonight. We've got just a little bit of the edge of the Sea of Tranquility, but it's not visible, not quite yet. Telescope. I live in Alabama and from New York. Oh, how lovely. My father and my mother lived in Alabama. I guess it was the early 70s to late 60s. It was right after they got married. And my mom, I'll tell you a funny story about mom. Mom was fit to be tied because it was so hot in Alabama and they didn't have any AC. And so my dad came home from work one day and he found my mom laying in a tub of icy water with the fan on. And she just kind of looked at my mom and my dad and she's like, "We have to leave Alabama. I'm melting." We were on a family trip coming back. I guess it was in between Alabama and Louisiana, and we were heading out to Texas to go see family. And apparently, I was sitting in the back seat of the car. I was maybe 2.5, maybe 3 years old. Apparently, I looked at Dad, and I grew up in a very religious household. My grandfather was a preacher, and I had heard about hell my whole entire life and how hot it was. So apparently, I leaned up to the front of the car and said, "Daddy, are we in hell?" And he just kind of looked at me and said, "Yep, yep, we are, and we're leaving." Out of the mouth of babes. If you're wondering what that terrible creaking sound is, that is an old wooden chair from my dad's boot store. And so when I'm sitting out here, I always sit on Dad's old boot store chair. So that's what this creaking is. It's a chair that's, I guess it's actually older than me. I guess they got this in like the early 70s and I was born in 77. So this chair is actually older than I am. And it's still holding up. So we'll keep it as long as it lasts, as long as it'll hold up my big arse. Let's see here. Hold on a second, gang. Saturn is not up yet, but maybe later tonight if I still have clear skies. It probably won't be until about, let's say about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning before I'll actually have views of Saturn. So I may go live then, but do you guys want to go see Antares? It's the heart of Scorpio. You guys want to go see that? Hold on a second. Let's go see Antares. This is Antares. This is a red supergiant. Antares actually kind of means the opposite of Mars. A lot of people will actually think that this is Mars because it's such a bright red color, but this is actually a large super red giant star. Antares is the brightest star in the constellation of Scorpio. It appears as a single star when viewed with the naked eye through a telescope, but it's actually a binary star system. That means there's actually 2 stars there. Its mass is calculated to be 13 or 16 times that of our own sun. The distance of Antares is 553.76 light years away. So when we're actually viewing this star, we're actually looking into the past because it's taken 553.76 light years for this light to reach our eyes. So when we're looking out into space, the further out we look, the further back into time that we are looking. But isn't that beautiful? Now, let's see here. Aristarchus is just underneath. I pulled my telescope into the garage to get out of the wind. Let's go back to the moon. Now I'm going to kind of push this into the center of your screen. So that way, if you guys want to capture a couple of screen grabs, you can certainly do so. But also, if you want really good photos, you can go to my posts on my page, and any of the photos that I've taken there, if you want to take screen grabs of those and use those as backdrops or gallery pictures and things like that, you are always more than welcome to take those and share them, keep them, put them on your backgrounds. I have no issues with you guys using my work. I'm not a professional photographer. So anything that I put up on the internet, I consider it free for educational purposes. You are so welcome, Miss Sue. Well, gang, it has been an absolute pleasure. I've been on for almost an hour, and I think I'm going to go in and go grab some dinner. But it's always a pleasure meeting new people. I hope that you'll subscribe and stop on back by and see what else I've got coming up. Hopefully this morning I will grab some views of Saturn and maybe also of Jupiter and Venus in the morning. So hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and as always, keep looking up.